The morning sun rose over the Pacific Ocean like any other day. Birds flew across the blue sky. People drove to work. Children walked to school. Nobody knew that everything was about to change forever. At exactly 7:43 in the morning, radar stations across the world detected something strange. Large objects were entering Earth's atmosphere. They were not meteors. They were not satellites. They were ships, hundreds of them. They came down through the clouds in perfect formation, their metal hulls gleaming in the sunlight. General Jack was drinking his third cup of coffee when his phone rang. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served in the military for 32 years. He had seen many things, but nothing had prepared him for the words he heard that morning. "Sir, we have unidentified craft landing in major cities worldwide. They are not from any country on Earth." Jack put down his coffee and rushed to the Pentagon. By the time he arrived, the Situation Room was already full of officers and advisors. Giant screens showed live footage from cities around the world. In New York, 3 massive ships hovered above Central Park. In London, 2 vessels had landed near the Thames. In Tokyo, Beijing, Moscow, and dozens of other cities, the same scene repeated itself. The ships were beautiful in a strange way. They were long and curved, made of silver metal that seemed to flow like water. They had no visible weapons, no windows, no markings. They simply hung in the air as if gravity meant nothing to them. Lieutenant Kate Harper arrived 20 minutes after the general. She was a young woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes. She worked at NASA, which meant she studied the possibility of alien life. Until today, her job had been mostly theoretical. Now it was very real. "What do we know?" Jack asked the room. A colonel named Pete answered. "Nothing yet, sir. They haven't fired on anyone. They haven't communicated. They're just sitting there." As if hearing his words, the screens flickered. Every television, every radio, every phone on Earth suddenly displayed the same image. It was a face. Not human. The skin was pale blue. The eyes were large and black. The head was elongated with no hair and no ears. When it spoke, the voice was translated into perfect English. "People of Earth, I am commander of the Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our domain. You have 12 hours to surrender all military assets and governmental authority to us. Resistance will result in the destruction of your major population centers. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. The screens returned to normal. For a long moment, nobody in the Situation Room spoke. Captain Sam broke the silence. He was a combat veteran, a man who had fought in 3 wars and carried the scars to prove it. His voice was calm and steady. "Well, that was rude." Despite the fear in the room, a few people laughed. It was a small thing, but it helped. Jack looked at his team and saw determination in their eyes. These were not people who would surrender. "Get me everything we have on those ships," Jack ordered. "I want to know how they fly, what they're made of, and most importantly, how we can hurt them." Kate had already pulled up footage on her tablet. She was watching the alien ships closely, but her attention was not on the vessels themselves. She was looking at the ground beneath them. Small figures were emerging from the landing craft. Alien soldiers. They wore armor that looked like black glass. They carried weapons that glowed with blue light, but something was wrong. "General, look at this," Kate said. She connected her tablet to the main screen and zoomed in on the soldiers in New York. They were walking slowly, carefully, like old men afraid of falling. Every step seemed to take great effort. Some of them were leaning on their weapons for support. "They're struggling," Kate said. "Look at how they move. It's like they're carrying something heavy." Sam leaned forward. "Their armor." Kate shook her head. "No, I don't think it's the armor. I think it's something else." She pulled up data from the alien ships. NASA had been collecting readings since the vessels entered the atmosphere. The information was incomplete, but some things were clear. The ships used anti-gravity technology. Their metal was incredibly light. Everything about their design suggested a species that valued low weight above all else. "There," Kate said slowly, "I think there has much lower gravity than Earth." Jack frowned. "How much lower?" Kate did some quick calculations. "Based on their body structure and movement patterns, I would guess somewhere around zero point 0.4 Earth gravity, maybe less." The room went quiet as everyone understood what this meant. These aliens had never experienced a world like Earth. Their bodies were built for a lighter existence. Here, on humanity's home planet, they were being crushed by a force they had never evolved to handle. Sam laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "They picked the wrong planet." Jack allowed himself a small smile. For the first time since the ships appeared, he felt something like hope. The aliens had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest. They had expected humanity to fall like all the others, but they had made a terrible mistake. They had not studied their target. "Get me the Joint Chiefs," Jack said, "and someone find me the best physicists we have. I want to know exactly how much pain their bodies are feeling right now, and I want to know how we can make it worse." Kate watched the alien soldiers on the screen. One of them had fallen to his knees and could not get up. His companions tried to help him, but they were barely able to stand themselves. It was almost sad to watch. Almost. She remembered the threat in Commander's message, the destruction of major population centers, the casual way he spoke about killing millions of people. Her sympathy faded quickly. "General," she said, "I think I know how to beat them." Jack turned to her. "I'm listening." Kate pointed at the struggling aliens. "We don't need to beat them. Earth is already doing that for us. All we have to do is wait." Somewhere above the planet, Commander watched his ground forces through a viewing screen. He saw them struggling. He saw them falling. For the first time in his long career of conquest, he felt the cold touch of doubt. What kind of monsters lived on this heavy world? He was about to find out. Ambassador had conquered 11 worlds. He had walked through the burning capitals of species that thought they were powerful. He had accepted the surrender of kings, presidents, and emperors. He was the most decorated diplomat in the empire, and he had never known failure. Today, he would learn what failure felt like. He led the main ground force into the city the humans called Chicago. 300 soldiers marched behind him in perfect formation. Their plasma rifles hummed with deadly energy. Their black armor gleamed under the strange yellow sun. They were the finest warriors the Empire had ever produced. They made it 4 blocks before the first soldier collapsed. Private Danny Cole watched from a rooftop 6 stories above the street. He was 23 years old, a farm boy from Ohio who had joined the army to pay for college. He had never seen combat. He had never fired his weapon at another living thing. But here he was, watching an alien invasion unfold beneath him. His squad leader, Corporal Lisa Grant, crouched beside him. She was 10 years older and had served 2 tours overseas. Her eyes were fixed on the alien column through her binoculars. "Something's wrong with them," she whispered. Danny could see it too. The aliens were slowing down. Their careful steps had become stumbles. Several soldiers near the back of the column were leaning heavily on each other. One had dropped his weapon and was using both hands to push himself forward. "Are they sick?" Danny asked. Lisa shook her head slowly. "No, they're tired. Look at them. They're exhausted just from walking." Ambassador felt his hearts pounding in his chest. Both of them. They had evolved with 2 hearts to pump blood more efficiently through their tall, thin bodies. On there, this made them tireless. Here, on this nightmare planet, his hearts were working 3 times harder just to keep him standing. Every step was agony. His legs burned. His spine felt like it was being compressed by invisible hands. The air itself seemed thick and heavy, pressing down on him from all sides. He had never experienced anything like this. No had. The humans had gravity readings in their planetary databases. 0.4 standard for the 1.0 for Earth. It had seemed like a small difference on paper, now understood that paper meant nothing. This world was not 1.0. This world was death itself. A soldier beside him made a choking sound and fell. His armor hit the ground with a crash that echoed through the empty streets. He did not get up. His chest rose and fell rapidly, but his limbs would not move. His body had simply given up. "Keep moving," ordered. His voice came out as a wheeze. "We must reach the government center. We must show these creatures our strength." But there was no strength left to show. Danny watched in amazement as the alien formation fell apart. Soldiers were dropping every few seconds now. Some fell forward. Some fell backward. Some simply sank to their knees and stayed there, gasping for breath through mouths that were not designed for this thick atmosphere. "They're dying," Lisa said. "They're actually dying just from being here." At the Pentagon, Kate Harper watched the same scene on a satellite feed. General Jack stood beside her, his face unreadable. "The average soldier weighs approximately 40 kilograms on there," Kate explained. "Here on Earth, that same body experiences a weight of 100 kilograms. Their bones, their muscles, their cardiovascular systems were never designed to handle that load." "How long can they survive?" Jack asked. "Without assistance, most of them will experience complete physical collapse within 2 to 3 hours. Their hearts will fail, their spines will compress, their lungs will struggle to expand against the pressure." Kate paused. "General, they came here to conquer us, but they didn't realize they were walking into a death trap." Ambassador had fallen. He lay on his back in the middle of a Chicago street, staring up at the blue sky. It was a beautiful sky, different from home. The sun was the wrong color, the clouds were the wrong shape, but it was beautiful nonetheless. He tried to lift his arm. It would not move. He tried to turn his head. It would not respond. His body had become a prison, pinned to the ground by a force he could not see or fight. Around him, 300 of the Empire's finest soldiers lay scattered like broken toys. Some were still conscious, their large black eyes staring at nothing. Others had already stopped breathing. Their armor, which had protected them from plasma fire and kinetic weapons on a dozen worlds, could do nothing against the simple pull of a planet. Danny climbed down from the rooftop. His squad followed carefully, weapons ready. But there was nothing to fight. The invasion force that had threatened to destroy humanity was lying helpless on the pavement. He approached the nearest alien soldier. The creature's eyes followed him, but nothing else moved. Danny could see fear in those strange black eyes, real fear. The alien was terrified. "It's okay," Danny said, not knowing why he was trying to comfort his enemy. "It's going to be okay." Lisa called out from somewhere behind him. "Cole, look at this one. I think it's their leader." Danny walked over to where Ambassador lay. The alien's chest was barely moving. His breathing was shallow and rapid. His blue skin had turned pale, almost gray. "Water," whispered. The translator in his armor still worked. "Please, water." Lisa looked at Danny. Danny looked at Lisa. Then, without a word, Danny pulled out his canteen and knelt beside the fallen ambassador. He poured a small amount of water into the alien's mouth, swallowed weakly, and closed his eyes. "Thank you," the ambassador said. "I did not expect kindness from your kind." Danny sat back on his heels. "Yeah, well, we're full of surprises." More human soldiers were arriving now. Medics rushed forward to examine the fallen aliens, though none of them knew how to treat physiology. Helicopters circled overhead. News cameras captured everything. In living rooms around the world, people watched in stunned silence as the great alien invasion ended not with explosions or heroic battles, but with water bottles and stretchers. General appeared on television 3 hours later. His message was simple. "The alien ground forces have been neutralized. They are being transported to medical facilities where we will attempt to save as many lives as possible. To Commander and the fleet still in orbit, we have a message. Your soldiers are alive because we chose mercy. Do not mistake our kindness for weakness. Earth is not a world you can conquer. It is a world that will conquer you." High above the planet, Commander listened to the human general's words. He looked at the reports from the surface. 300 soldiers sent. 300 soldiers fallen. Not a single shot fired by either side. His conquest had failed before it even began. And somewhere in Chicago, Danny Cole helped carry an alien ambassador onto a helicopter, wondering how his simple life had become so strange. Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship and felt something he had never felt before. Shame. 300 soldiers, 300 of the Empire's finest warriors, defeated by nothing more than a planet's natural pull. The news would spread across the galaxy. The would become a joke. Unless he burned the shame away. "Charge the main weapons," he ordered. "Target their largest cities. If we cannot walk on their world, we will turn it to glass." His officers hesitated. This was not how the Empire operated. The conquered. They did not destroy. Destroyed planets had no resources to harvest, no populations to enslave. But's eyes were cold with fury, and nobody dared to argue. Deep below the flagship, massive energy cores began to hum. Plasma cannons the size of buildings powered up for the first time in decades. They had not needed such weapons in centuries. Most species surrendered the moment they saw the fleet. Those who fought back were quickly overwhelmed by ground forces. But there had never been a world like Earth. There had never been gravity like this. At a research facility in Virginia, Dr. Ben Harper was not sleeping. He had not slept since the aliens arrived. He was Kate's older brother, a physicist and engineer who had spent 15 years working on advanced propulsion systems for DARPA. Now he was taking apart alien technology with his bare hands. The shuttle had crashed in a field outside Richmond. Its pilot had lost consciousness from gravity stress within minutes of landing. Ben's team had recovered the wreckage and transported it to a secure location. For the past 18 hours, they had been studying every piece. "It's incredible," Ben muttered to himself, running his fingers along a curved metal panel. "Everything is designed to be light, everything." The alien metal was a marvel of engineering. It was stronger than steel but weighed almost nothing. The energy systems were efficient beyond anything humans had ever created. The anti-gravity cores were works of art, elegant and precise. But they were fragile. Ben picked up a component that seemed to be part of the ship's defensive system. It was made of the same lightweight material as everything else. He tapped it gently with a hammer. It cracked. They never needed heavy armor, he realized. They never fought anyone who could hit them with real force. He picked up his phone and called his sister. Kate answered on the second ring. She was still at the Pentagon, still watching satellite feeds of the alien fleet. "Kate, I've figured it out. Their ships, their weapons, their armor. It's all built for speed and efficiency. They sacrificed durability because they never needed it." "What does that mean for us?" Kate asked. Ben smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "It means if we can hit them with something heavy enough, we can punch right through." Within hours, the information had reached General. Within hours after that, Colonel Mitchell was being briefed on the most important mission of his life. Was a fighter pilot. He had flown combat missions in 3 different conflicts. He had been shot at, shot down, and rescued from enemy territory twice. He was exactly the kind of pilot who volunteered for suicide missions, even when nobody asked him to. "The alien flagship is charging weapons," the briefing officer explained. "Based on energy readings, we estimate they will be ready to fire within 6 hours. If those weapons hit our cities, millions will die." Studied the holographic display of the enemy ship. It was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers long. Its hull was smooth and curved, with no visible weak points. "Where do I hit it?" he asked. Dr. Ben Harper stepped forward. "The anti-gravity cores. They're located in the center of the ship, protected by multiple layers of hull plating. But based on our analysis, that plating is only effective against energy weapons and light kinetic projectiles. He pulled up a schematic of a new missile design. This is what we've been building. Tungsten core, traditional explosive propulsion. It weighs about 8 times more than anything they have ever encountered. Their point defense systems won't be able to track it properly. Their armor won't be able to stop it. Looked at the missile, then he looked at the alien flagship, then he smiled. How many do I get? 6 hours later, 12 F-35 fighter jets launched from an aircraft carrier in the Atlantic Ocean. Each jet carried 4 of the new tungsten missiles. Colonel Mitchell led the formation. The climb to low orbit was the hardest part. The jets were not designed for space combat. They had been modified hastily, fitted with experimental boosters and sealed cockpits. 3 pilots had to turn back due to equipment failures. 9 continued. Commander saw them coming. His sensors detected the human craft as they crossed the boundary between atmosphere and space. He felt no fear. Human technology was primitive. Their weapons could not possibly threaten a warship. Launch interceptors, he ordered calmly. Destroy them. Small drones deployed from the flagship's hull. They were fast and agile, designed to eliminate enemy fighters with precise energy blasts. They had never failed. They had also never encountered pilots from a high-gravity world. And his squadron moved through space with a confidence they had never seen. Their reflexes were faster. Their tolerance for acceleration was higher. Their bodies could handle forces that would kill a pilot instantly. The drones tried to track them. They failed. The human jets twisted and rolled at speeds that seemed impossible. One by one, the drones were outmaneuvered and destroyed. All units target the flagship, ordered. Fire everything. 36 tungsten missiles launched simultaneously. They were ugly weapons. No elegant energy signatures. No sophisticated guidance systems. Just dense metal moving very fast. The flagship's point defense systems activated. Lasers and plasma bursts filled the space around the ship. They hit many of the missiles, but the missiles kept coming. The lasers that should have vaporized them only scorched their surfaces. The plasma that should have melted them barely slowed them down. 12 missiles reached the hull. 12 missiles punched through armor that had never been designed to stop such primitive weapons. 12 explosions ripped through the flagship's interior. Commander was thrown from his feet as the bridge shook violently. Alarms screamed in a dozen different languages. Damage reports flooded every screen. The anti-gravity cores were failing. The great ship that had terrorized 17 star systems began to list to one side, its elegant form suddenly awkward and broken. "This is Colonel Mitchell of the United States Air Force," a voice crackled over the communication system. "You are ordered to stand down and surrender your vessel. If you attempt to fire on Earth, we will destroy every ship in your fleet. This is your only warning." Looked at the burning wreckage of his flagship. He looked at the small human craft circling like predators. He looked at the blue planet below, the heavy world that had humiliated his empire in less than 2 days. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he gave the order no commander had ever given before. "All ships cease fire, power down weapons, transmit surrender request to the human military." The greatest empire in the galaxy had just lost its first war. And humanity had won without losing a single soldier. The meeting took place in orbit, aboard a hastily constructed station that floated between Earth and the crippled fleet. The station was simple. 4 metal modules connected by narrow corridors, a conference room with a round table, views of both the planet and the alien ships through large windows. The gravity inside was set to 0.5 Earth standard, a compromise, low enough for the to function, high enough for the humans to feel comfortable. Neither side was happy with it, which meant it was probably fair. General Jack led the human delegation. Kate Harper stood at his right side, carrying a tablet full of data she hoped she would not need. Captain Sam stood at his left, carrying a weapon he hoped he would not need. Behind them were 6 Marines in full combat gear, their faces hidden behind helmets. Commander arrived with only 2 guards. He could not bring more. Most of his officers were still recovering from their time on Earth's surface. Those who had remained on the ships were needed to keep the fleet from falling apart. Looked terrible. His blue skin was pale. His movements were slow and careful. Even at half-Earth gravity he was struggling, but his eyes were alert, and when he spoke, his voice was steady. "I am authorized to negotiate on behalf of the Empire," he began. "We request a cessation of hostilities and the return of our captured personnel." Nodded slowly. "We're prepared to discuss terms, but first I have questions." "Ask." "Why Earth? Of all the planets in the galaxy, why did you choose to invade us?" Was quiet for a moment. When he answered, there was something like regret in his voice. "Your planet sits at the intersection of 3 major trade routes. Its resources are abundant. Its population is large enough to provide labor but small enough to control." He paused. "Or so we believed." Kate stepped forward. "You didn't research us at all, did you? You just saw a world with the right resources and assumed we would be easy to conquer." "We have conquered 17 star systems," said. "Every species we encountered fell within days, some within hours. We saw no reason to expect anything different from humanity." And now asked, "Look through the window at the blue planet below. Now I understand that we were fools." Kate pulled up a holographic display from her tablet. It showed 2 figures side by side. The other was a human. The differences were obvious at a glance. There was tall and thin, with long limbs and a narrow chest. The human was shorter and more compact, with thicker bones and denser muscles. "Your species evolved on a world with .4 Earth gravity," Kate explained. "Over millions of years, your bodies adapted to that environment. Your bones are light because they don't need to support much weight. Your hearts are efficient because they don't need to pump blood against strong resistance. Your muscles are thin because they don't need to work very hard." She zoomed in on the human figure. "Humans evolved on Earth, 1.0 gravity, every moment of every day. Our bones are dense and heavy because they have to support our full weight constantly. Our hearts are powerful because they have to push blood all the way from our feet to our brains against that constant pull. Our muscles are thick and strong because even simple movements require significant force." Listened in silence. His guards shifted uncomfortably behind him. "When your soldiers stepped onto Earth," Kate continued, "their bodies experienced forces they were never designed to handle. Their hearts couldn't keep up. Their bones couldn't support their own weight. Their muscles failed within hours." She closed the display. "You didn't lose because we're stronger warriors. You lost because Earth itself rejected you." The heavy world murmured. "We have stories about such places, myths. We thought they were just legends." Sam spoke for the first time. "Not legends, home." Leaned forward across the table. "Commander, I want you to understand something. Everything we are, everything we have accomplished as a species, we did while carrying the weight of our world on our shoulders. Every step we take is harder than anything your people have ever experienced. Every breath we draw requires more effort than you can imagine." He gestured toward the window toward Earth. "We climbed out of oceans. We crossed mountains. We built cities and flew aircraft and sent rockets into space, all while gravity tried to crush us every second of every day. We didn't evolve in paradise. We evolved in a pressure cooker, and it made us strong." Stared at the human general. For the first time, he truly understood what he was facing. These were not ordinary beings. These were creatures forged by a world that wanted to destroy them. Every generation had been tested. Every individual had been hardened. The weak had died. The strong had survived. No wonder they had won. "You could have killed us," said quietly. When our soldiers fell, you could have executed them. When our ships were damaged, you could have destroyed them. Why didn't you?" Exchanged a glance with Kate. It was she who answered. "Because that's not who we are. Yes, we're strong. Yes, we can fight. But strength isn't about killing everyone weaker than you. It's about protecting those who need protection, even our enemies." She thought about Danny Cole, the young soldier who had given water to a dying alien ambassador. She thought about the medics who had worked through the night to save lives. She thought about all the ways humanity had chosen mercy when cruelty would have been easier. "We grew up carrying weight," Kate said. "We learned that the heaviest burdens are not physical, they are moral, and we choose to carry those too." Was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, softer, almost humble. "The Empire has made many mistakes. We have conquered worlds that did not need conquering. We have enslaved peoples who deserved freedom. We told ourselves it was necessary. We told ourselves it was our right as the strongest." He looked at, "But we were never the strongest. We simply never met anyone stronger, until now." The commander stood slowly, his thin legs trembling even at half-gravity. He placed his right hand over his chest in a gesture of respect. "I would like to propose something beyond a simple ceasefire. I would like to propose an alliance, not between conquerors and conquered, but between equals. You have shown us what true strength looks like. Perhaps it is time we learned from it." Stood as well. He extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Looked at the hand for a moment, confused. Then Kate whispered an explanation. The commander reached out and grasped the general's hand. It was the first handshake between human and. It would not be the last. 6 months passed. The world changed in ways nobody could have predicted. The Empire officially surrendered to the newly formed United Earth Coalition on a Tuesday afternoon in Geneva. The signing ceremony was broadcast to every planet in the Empire's former domain. 17 star systems watched as Commander placed his mark on the treaty documents. Billions of beings who had lived under rule for generations suddenly found themselves free. The flagship that had threatened to burn Earth cities was repaired and renamed. It was now called the UEC Endurance, a symbol of humanity's refusal to give up even when facing impossible odds. Colonel Mitchell was offered command. He accepted. Kate Harper became humanity's first ambassador to the galactic community. Her job was not easy. The galaxy was full of species who had never heard of Earth, never imagined that a high-gravity world could produce intelligent life. Many of them were afraid. A few were hostile. Most were simply curious. Kate traveled from world to world, explaining who humans were and what they wanted. She told them about Earth's history, about the wars and the peace treaties, about the art and the science, about the billions of ordinary people who just wanted to live their lives without being conquered by anyone. "We're not interested in building an empire," she told the Council of the Federation, a collection of 40 worlds that had watched the invasion with nervous attention. "We're interested in building friendships." They were not convinced at first. They were a cautious people, slow to trust strangers. But then Kate did something unexpected. She invited their delegation to visit Earth. 5 ambassadors made the journey. They were warned about the gravity. They were given special suits designed to help support their bodies. They were promised medical assistance if they needed it. They lasted 3 hours before requesting evacuation. But in those 3 hours, they saw something that changed their understanding of humanity forever. They saw humans running, not walking carefully, not crawling, but actually running across the ground at speeds that could barely track. They saw humans jumping, climbing, lifting heavy objects with casual ease. They saw children playing games that would have killed adults. "You live like this every day?" one ambassador asked, his voice weak from exhaustion. Kate smiled. "Every day for our entire lives, and we don't even notice it anymore." They signed a friendship treaty the following week. Word spread across the galaxy. Stories about the heavy world and its impossible people traveled from station to station, from ship to ship, from planet to planet. Some of the stories were exaggerated. Others were not exaggerated enough. Danny Cole had returned to Ohio after the invasion. He tried to go back to his normal life. He tried to forget about the aliens and the war and the day he gave water to a dying enemy. But normal was not possible anymore. He was famous now, the soldier who showed mercy, the farm boy who became a symbol of human compassion. Reporters wanted interviews. Politicians wanted photo opportunities. Strangers wanted to shake his hand. Danny hated all of it. He found peace in the most unexpected place. Ambassador, fully recovered after months of medical treatment in low-gravity facilities, requested a meeting. Danny agreed, though he was not sure why. They met in a small garden in Washington, D.C., was wearing an exoskeleton suit that helped him move in Earth's gravity. He still walked slowly, but he walked. "I never thanked you properly," said. "You saved my life. You had no reason to do so. I was your enemy. I had come to enslave your people." Danny shrugged. "You were lying on the ground. You were thirsty. It wasn't complicated." Studied the young human's face. "For my people, it would have been very complicated. We do not show mercy to those who cannot fight back. We see it as weakness." "Yeah, well," Danny looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, ships from a dozen different species were now visiting Earth. Trade agreements were being signed. Cultural exchanges were being planned. The galaxy was opening up in ways humans had never imagined. "Maybe that's why you lost." Considered this for a long moment. Then he made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Perhaps you are right, Danny Cole. Perhaps you are right." General gave one final press conference before retiring. He stood at a podium in the Pentagon briefing room, surrounded by reporters from every country on Earth. Cameras broadcast his image to billions of viewers. 6 months ago, aliens came to our world expecting to find victims. They found something else. They found a species that has spent its entire existence fighting against the very planet it lives on. Every breath we take is a victory. Every step we walk is a triumph. We did not ask to be born on a heavy world, but we are grateful for it, because it made us who we are. He paused and looked directly into the cameras. To any other civilizations out there who might be considering a visit to Earth, I have a message. Come in peace, and you will find friends. Come as conquerors, and you will find that gravity is the least of your problems. In the vast darkness between stars, other civilizations watched. They had seen the recordings of the failed invasion. They had seen humans running, jumping, fighting in conditions that should have been lethal. They had seen soldiers in heavy armor moving as if the weight did not exist. The Dominion, which had been planning its own expansion into human territory, quietly canceled those plans. The Collective, known for raiding unprotected worlds, added Earth to their list of forbidden targets. The Unity, the oldest and most powerful civilization in the known galaxy, sent a simple message requesting diplomatic relations. Earth was no longer an unknown backwater. It was a player on the galactic stage, and everyone wanted to be on its good side. Lisa Grant had taken a job training the new planetary defense force. Her recruits came from every country on Earth. She taught them how to fight, how to survive, and most importantly, how to carry the weight of responsibility that came with being humanity's protectors. "You are the children of a heavy world," she told them on their first day. "That means you are already stronger than most beings in the galaxy, but strength without wisdom is dangerous. Strength without compassion is cruelty. Remember that you carry two burdens, the physical weight of Earth and the moral weight of representing our species. Never drop either one." Sam retired to a quiet cabin in the mountains. He spent his days fishing and reading and watching the sky. Sometimes he saw alien ships passing overhead, heading to the new spaceport that had been built in Nevada. He never waved at them, but he never shot at them either. Kate sent him messages every few weeks, updating him on her travels. She had been to 30 different worlds now. She had met hundreds of alien species, and everywhere she went, she heard the same question. How do you survive on such a heavy world? She always gave the same answer. We don't just survive, we thrive. We dance and run and climb mountains. We build cities and bridges and rockets. We carry our world on our shoulders every moment of every day, and we call it home. Because we are gravity's children. And we would not have it any other way. The story of the invasion spread across the galaxy. It was told and retold, embellished, and translated into 1,000 languages. But the core message never changed. Earth was not a world to be conquered. It was a world that conquered those who tried. And somewhere in the stars, other heavy worlds heard the story. Other species who had been overlooked, dismissed, forgotten because their worlds were too harsh for the galactic mainstream. They heard about Earth. They heard about humanity. And for the first time in their long histories, they felt hope. They were not alone anymore. The heavy worlds were rising. And the galaxy would never be the same.